Hussite War Wagons. Around the year 1420, Czech and Hussite general Jan Zizka became known for using heavy armed war wagons to devastating effect against his enemies. Hussite forces found that war wagons were a great equalizer when facing the overwhelming forces of the Holy Roman Empire, with their large formations of mounted knights. At the Battle of Sudamar on March 25, 1420, Jan Zizka and 400 men were victorious over 2,000 cavalrymen. Hussite wagons were an excellent defense against knights. Wagons could form walls or form a wagon fort in a square or circle formation, which the Czechs called Vozová hradba, or wagon wall, or in German, Wagenburg. These wagons, effectively moving walls, were often brilliantly set up using the terrain, so bodies of water or marsh directed the battle right into these walls. War wagon walls could also be set up to guard the flanks of an army. During the Battle of Sudamar, 300 knights of the Hospitaller were decimated attacking a small group of war wagons placed on a slim dam. Following this, another 400 cavalrymen attempted to cross the marshy ground rather than face the war wagons directly. They dismounted after being bogged down, but were completely mired again in the marshy ground. Hussite light infantry armed with flails overwhelmed them and finished them all off. Wagons had a mix of different troops and defenses. Wagons could be of different sizes, accommodating between 8 and 21 men. 4 to 10 men could be a mix of crossbowmen or handgunners. Some carts further had small cannons. Up to 8 soldiers were equipped with pikes or flails. Up to 4 men were dedicated to looking after the cart and reinforcing gaps between neighboring carts. Infantry equipped with pole arms could thrust out from slits in the wagon. Men equipped with flails could reach out over top of the wagon's walls. Even men underneath the wagon could attack out with spears. Horses and supplies were protected within a wagon fort or behind the walls. Here, there could be further ranged troops, from archers to men equipped with slings. Unlike a castle, wagon forts could open up at any given point to release troops or cavalry. The enemy could not effectively identify where a gate was in the walls, as every section of wall could be made a gate. If a gap in the walls was made from a destroyed wagon, spearmen could plug the gap, or the wagons could be brought closer together. Wagons were typically just connected by iron chains. The wagon fort was an amazing tactic for the largely peasant armies of the Hussites rebelling in Bohemia. Another reason the wagon forts were so effective is they were often underestimated by knights. The Hussite Wars lasted from 1419 to 1434 and were a series of conflicts in Bohemia, the modern-day Czech Republic. The wars were sparked by religious and social reforms proposed by Jun Hus. Jan Zizka was one of the most pivotal figures in the Hussite movement. Zizka led the Taborites, a more radical faction that battled both Catholic and rival Hussite forces. He remains a Czech national hero and was undefeated throughout his career. According to some historical sources, Zizka's dying wish was to have his skin used to make drums, so that he might continue to lead his troops, even after he was dead. Of course, a wagon fort is, at least in its basic form, a fairly obvious military strategy, and this strategy has been used by different armies throughout history. Records indicate the Chinese used such a strategy to protect their archers from cavalry as far back as the 2nd century BC. The strategy was also used by the Romans. However, it was the Hussites who used the strategy to such a devastating effect, and after the Hussite Wars, other armies adopted wagon fort strategies similar to the Hussites, such as the Zaporizhian Cossacks, and some kingdoms even hired Czech mercenaries in the thousands. Improvised wagon forts also include those used by pioneers and settlers in both Africa and North America. In North America, these corral fortifications are very popular in the movies, but their primary purpose was to corral cattle over protecting against Native Americans. These corral fortifications could still be highly effective. In 1867, 26 U.S. Army soldiers and 6 civilians armed with the latest rifles fought off several hundred Lakota Sioux warriors from behind their wagons. This battle became known as the Wagon Box Fight. Alright, I'm Johnny. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you now know why walls without a foundation can make a really effective fortress. Anyway, do take care and have a nice rest of your day.